everything. So they did a whole lot of fraudulent stuff. We have court reporting papers from the preliminary where several lies were told. We also have paperwork where Albert actually pled guilty in June for being the actual robber. And they tried to deny the fact that he pled guilty to being the actual robber. And I have the paperwork signed by the judge. Now, they wasn't thinking, because when this first happened, the police had no evidence at all, of course, because the whole thing was a scheme. The only thing they had was Albert signing a piece of paper claiming to be a getaway driver. And that's what they mentioned in the preliminary, and we have the paperwork. So what type of sense does that make, that he would say that he was the getaway driver in the beginning, then turn around several months later and go to court and say, hey, I was the getaway driver again? That doesn't even make any sense. If you already have a form where he signed to be a getaway driver, why would you go back several months later and say, I'm pleading guilty to being the getaway driver? See, these police officers are dumb, to be honest. They wasn't using their head. They was just trying to carry out a scheme. Oh, and by the way, their own evidence shows that this was a scheme, because this evidence, you could tell, was pre-shot in advance. Number one, because the police officer's business have no name on the outside, and this business have big letters across the top of the business that was there way before July. The two businesses in the tape, the two places beside the cash advance are empty in this tape, and there was actually a guy moving in with the computer store at the time of the robbery. And so that tells you alone that this had been pre-shot in advance. Not to mention, they got a hat thrown on the ground because the robber was wearing a disguise. He was wearing a hat and shades. So they got a hat thrown on the ground that's not even the same color hat. They got a pair of keys thrown on the ground. And if you claiming it was a getaway car, where's the robber going without his keys? So they wasn't thinking when they pre-shot this in advance. And the tape, as far as the other two businesses that was robbed, one of the other business is a No Way Jose that's located on Minnie Brown Road. Is owned by a Caucasian female by the name of Casey Macy. And the other business is a fire sub on Atlanta Highway in the shopping center. Now, if you notice, there's a pattern where, well, of course you all had noticed, but for the people who have heard about the case, there's a pattern where the owners would be the owners and the fire sub in this one particular case, the manager showed up for court in each one of these instances. No workers, nobody else showed up in each one of these places. So that let me know that everybody is in cahoots together, because there were several lies told by Casey Macy. There were several lies told by Art Day, who is the manager at Fire Sub. So that let me know that everybody was in cahoots together. Apparently, these people that I mentioned, such as Casey Macy and Art Day, are friends with these police officers, or possibly even family members. As far as the No Way Jose, they say no money was taken. They claim a guy walked in, ordered a beer, and claimed she was working behind the bar when the guy produced the gun. I had a chance to speak to Casey Macy. She was very hostile, number one, for no reason. I was very nice to her. The only reason that I spoke to her is not because I thought Willie was guilty. I knew he wasn't guilty, number one, because Willie was headed back to Life Tech. His mother was taking him back to Life Tech at the time that they say these crimes happened. I just wanted to speak to Casey Macy at first to see if she was in cahoots with this whole scheme or not. And after speaking to her and seeing her behavior, I knew then that she was in cahoots with these cops, not to mention the lies that was conflicting at the preliminary hearing. The lies, that they mentioned at the preliminary hearing, which was already recorded. So I knew that she was involved. After speaking with her, me and a private investigator went out to the storage place actually behind the No Way Jose, and he told us that he caught the robber on tape. And he said the police asked him if he had video surveillance, and he said, "Why, yes, I do. Let's go in and review the tapes." And he said as soon as he told them that, the police officers back, threw their hands up, got a call out of nowhere on their walkie-talkies saying that they're at Walmart, took off, never came back to get the tape. Now, people, he has clear video surveillance, clear, where you can see if somebody is running out in front of the storage place. But he said he was puzzled as to why they never wanted to come back and get the tape. And he stated that the robber was skinny and that he caught it on tape. And I have that in writing. Also, when it came to the fire sub, there was a young black lady who was robbed. I had the pleasure of speaking to her as well, and she told me it wasn't Willie or Albert, and her friend could be witness to that. Now, I already knew that it wasn't Willie or Albert, but I wanted to see, what everybody had to say. And the reason I knew it wasn't Willie or Albert, because I knew that they had tried to get somebody brown skin to look like Willie. But what they did with this tape is you cannot see the guy's face at all. You can't see his face at all. You can only see a little bit of it where you can see where the guy has no mustache. But in the end of the tape, it shows the guy named Big T, his picture, as well as another guy in their evidence of discovery tape. And of course, the tape has no dates on it. And most tapes that are shot in, convenience stores and such, things like that, they have dates and times on it. But in each instance, such as their first evidence of discovery, which I have a copy of, and then this other tape that they played in court, neither have a date and a time on it. How convenient. But number one, because they're playing a tape of two different guys. The one from their first tape, the guy's wearing a yellow shirt, and he's very, very short. His legs are very short, as a matter of fact, which is what the girl told me, that the guy was like extra short, and his body physique doesn't fit Willie's. His muscles are too big, like way too big. And so in the second tape, they got somebody wearing a black and white striped shirt, but they got on legal paperwork that the robber was wearing a yellow shirt. So the tape that was played in court, it was a guy wearing a black and white striped shirt. So anybody that was a member of the jury could be witness that they played a tape of a guy wearing a black and white shirt. Not to mention, Willie said that the judge ran back there 3 times trying to get him to sign a guilty plea. And he even sent the sheriff back there trying to get him to sign a guilty plea. And his attorney, right before trial, tried to get him to sign a guilty plea, even knowing that we had all this evidence. So, people, you all be the judge as to what you all think. Does this sound suspicious to you? Because I know for sure this was a scam, but I know that some people are going to voice their opinions about what they think. But to me, they're just opinions. And to Willie, they're just opinions, because as long as Jehovah God knows the truth and we know the truth, that's all that matters. But of course we want everybody else to be able to see the truth, because Willie's an innocent man that was given a life sentence for something he didn't do. So of course we will want other people to recognize the fact that he's innocent, so he could be able to come home to his family, because it's not fair for him to sit there and suffer for something he didn't do because of a couple of crooked cops that decide to run a scheme, and they're trying to get away with it. the police have been going around telling people that I'm